All right, give me a second. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I got a good friend of mine, from a Facebook group. He was willing to actually talk to me, which is surprising. Okay. So tell everybody your name.
So, my name is Andrew Davis. I'm also known as Pop Anime Comics, and I write about anime, comics, and pop culture.
Dope. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. All right. Okay. So before we get into it, I just finished watching My Hero Academia episode 9, season 3, episode 9, and I have no words because it was very emotional in my opinion. Not like next episode, but like this episode was pretty up there. Okay, so we're gonna go by this in. I wrote notes, so I'm gonna talk about one, then we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna go to that. All right. So apparently, from what I got from Bakugo, it seems like he has no interest in being a villain, even though he acts like one, which is interesting to me. What do you?
Yeah, I took it in which that he seems that he's more hot-headed, which fits with his, quirk. And he's almost like the Punisher, where he appears more like an anti-hero,
right,
than a hero, but he's not a villain. If that makes any sense, and that's his attitude.
Yeah, that's true. He's kind of like, he reminds me of Endeavor in a way. Because, like, Endeavor isn't, like, he isn't a villain, but, like, he's not a nice guy.
Yeah, but he's not evil. There's a difference between being not a nice, warm, hugging type of guy, like Deku is, and he's more of that type of guy.
Right.
He still doesn't want to go and, kill people. I mean, I can't think of him. I'm a big comic book fan, which is similar to My Hero Academia. And there are comic book heroes who are not warm, fuzzy guys. But they're not, on the other side of things. So that's how I feel about him. And I think that's pretty clear from this episode, is that's one of the big takeaways I think we get. Because the last 2 episodes before this kind of left that out in the open a little bit.
Right, yeah, I agree. It's interesting to see that Bakugo isn't one of those people, and that's what I like about this show too, because they know how to write a character correctly, or a complex character, and yeah. So that's Bakugo. I mean, I think he was the main highlight for this episode anyway. Everybody else didn't really do much besides like maybe Shigaraki. Even he didn't do anything that really, but.
Yeah, I mean, my issue with this episode, and I'm going a bit off track here, is that I felt like the main highlight was Bakugo, where that was really the main highlight, and then it's really the start to, the next big arc, and we see All for One, and those I think are the two, we see part of All for One, and his entire presence really becomes, this is like his big arc,
right,
and kind of the start of that. And so that's my issue with the entire episode, and that's why I'm not in love with this episode, because I feel like I write about comic books, and I'm equating this to what I do, where I'm a big Walking Dead fan, and there are certain issues in the Walking Dead that set up.
Right.
I feel like this was more of a setup episode, where this is kind of, we're rising to the peak. And I feel like the next few episodes in My Hero Academia, which is the English name for it, I don't know which side people go on for your podcast, but I feel like this is kind of, we're getting to the rising peak, and we're a little bit even before that. We're almost at the prequel level of that.
Right,
if that makes any sense. And like, this is a setup episode. For me, that's how I viewed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is really a setup. So they're trying to set up all for one against one for all, pretty much, and it's gotta it's kind of like a filler, but it's not really a filler because it's kind of useful for Bakugo. But I'll say I don't think that like for My Hero Academia, I can't really like say that anybody should skip episodes because you won't get some of the characters if you skip. So it's kind of
I'm not saying a skip. I'm not saying it's bad, but the way I view it is that I view things, at least from my perspective, I view things as a whole thing, where there are good episodes of this show, and then there are average episodes. It's still a fantastic anime to watch.
right.
Like, just because I might beat up an episode, and just for full disclosure, I'm a fan. I mean, I've interviewed a few people from this show on my podcast, so I like this show.
Right.
I love this show, to be honest. And so when I'm beating it up, I'm beating it up as a fan, not as a, outsider saying, well, I picked up this show and, I'm not really into it. Like, I'm critically analyzing it because I want the show to succeed and I want the show to be good.
Right.
And I'm just analyzing it from that perspective, and I still enjoyed the episode. It was a good episode, and the way they're doing this episode, I mean, if this is an indicator of how they're going to do it in the rest of, season 3 and kind of beginning the next arc, I mean, it's safe to say that the next several episodes that are rising up is going to be really good as this final kind of battle goes down between the all for one and one for all battle really occurs.
Right. I agree. I really agree. That's the thing about like people who review stuff based on an outside perspective and from an actual fan, you want to, like you said, you want to get the show to be better. And the next thing I want to get into is like I saw this in an episode for Bakugo. Like it seems like he's trying to, like he's a natural fighter. Like you can get that from him, and the seeing him think through stuff is really interesting instead of just seeing Deku do it all the time, because we know he can do it, but like you don't really think of Bakugo as a smart person, but he is.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little touch where I think that what we're seeing, I mean, I hate to go backwards a little bit, but with season 1, we kind of see him being way more hot-headed, and he doesn't get that character development. And really, I think in season 2, he really starts to get it. And now I think we're starting to see him become a more mature character. And I think this is really that position that's taking place where we see him analyzing, saying, I'm going to take out 2 or 3 of them and escape.
Right.
He's not saying, I'm going to go blow up all these superheroes or villains, I should say. Mm-hmm. And he realizes that he can't win that fight, but he can take out 2 of them and get the hell out of Dodge.
Right.
For lack of a better word.
Right, yeah. See, that's what I like, his character development. Like everybody else is good, but like Bakugo's is a really it's gonna be really satisfying for me when he actually completes his character development, and it's gonna be interesting. Okay, so there's this character in there that I really find I don't know what he can do quirk wise, but Gang Orca, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
know. The character designs for this show is amazing, but why a orca? What? I just thought that was
honestly, I have no idea. I analyze parts of My Hero Academia, and then I just let other parts go away. Where I'm very critical of the show because I'm one of those people that's extremely critical of anime. But with My Hero Academia, I give them a little bit more leeway because it is definitely something that I wouldn't say it's original, because it's actually not an original show by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
Because it was actually developed out of something called Astro City.
Mm-hmm.
And Astro City was a comic book back in the 90s where you have heroes and you have villains. And people pick sides, and they live in Astro City, which basically everybody's either a superhero or a villain or has some type of power. And that's pretty much, if you put My Hero Academia and that comic book, they overlap each other, almost identical. At least for the first several, issues and episodes in manga, and with a few minor changes. So, I mean, I'm biased to the concept, and I just let that piece go because I just don't have an opinion on him, and it's really just, I feel like nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
With the show.
That makes sense.
But to talk even just about character designs, I mean, that I think a lot of where that character design stuff comes from is pieces of Astro City as well as American comic books is heavily influenced in My Hero Academia.
Definitely.
I don't know how many people know the manga, but the manga is actually set up like a comic book cover. The covers of the manga are done in that style in particular. And so when we look at actually the animation, it tends to have more of an American twist and sort of the characters.
Right.
Which is really, really appeasing as an American. It's nice to see an American-Japanese twist.
Right.
I think that really plays nicely for My Hero Academia.
I agree. Going on that note, like, Endeavor was like, you heard what he said when he was like, you let that American dude go in and I didn't? Like, they specifically say that he's American, even though his name isn't. Or, I guess.
I thought that was a nice little dig, and I thought that was very nice, and I actually didn't catch that until you brought it up, but now that I think about it, it's kind of a nice little dig. It fits in the knife a little bit, but you can interpret it as not a dig, but they don't just put dialogue in there for no reason. Every once in a while, some dialogue gets in there, and it's really well done.
Right.
And that's just one of those things that I think was purposely put in.
The dialogue is
understanding anime, so
exactly right. The dialogue is really important, and like when you like, it's when they like say certain things and then you don't realize it, like you said, until like after you look at it again for a second time, and it's like, okay, they actually meant something by them saying that, and it's pretty.
And ultimately, that doesn't change what happened in this episode by any means. I mean, I think we have to clarify that, but at the same time, when he says that, it's pretty clear that it takes it to another level where you can watch anime on multiple levels. And when you go through something like that, and it's that little dig in there, and then all of a sudden, you kind of take a look at My Hero Academia from a very different view, and you pull back, and you can see all the tiny little things in there. I mean, it really elevates the anime up nicely. And I think it plays really nicely in this episode. And I'm just thinking about it, because I watched the episode also. I watched it about 5 hours ago, so it's somewhat fresh in my mind.
Right.
And changes it a little bit, but it doesn't change the overall theme, but it kind of elevates it up a little bit. You're like, oh, now I get what's going on. I think that's a really nice touch that they do in this show.
I agree. They know how to make a show. I can say that from them. And it's great. Let's see. So one thing from Shigaraki, like, he was always saying father this, father that, and it kind of got annoying in my opinion, but I feel like there's a reason why he calls All For One father instead of just saying, oh, master. Well, he said master too, but he mainly said father.
I mean, this is my question, is that, so I watch it on Crunchyroll because the dub for this episode hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And so naturally, the question that happens with dubs is that there are words in Japan that we don't have in America and vice versa. And so my question is that, are they going to call him father in the English stuff? Because I haven't seen the English stuff.
Right.
And so I don't know if they, does he call, have you seen, does he call him father in the English stuff as well? Or is it just master? Because that could change it, because if they do call him master in the English dub, then it's just a subtitled position, and that could also change things. I mean, so I don't know if that changes things, but it's interesting because, I mean, father figures, sometimes a master viewed that same way, and I've watched other animes where they've done it, and from what I understand about Japan, you know, to some degree, and it might be a bit of a stretch, but father and master could be interchangeable to some degree.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, like they didn't just stick to one. Like Shigaraki didn't just say father in the subtitles. He also said master too. They changed them both. So you could be right with that one. Like
it's odd to me because I haven't seen the English.
Right.
You know, my time is valuable to the point where I will watch it either in English or in Japanese. I will not watch both.
Right.
Because I like to watch a lot of anime, and so I don't know what they've done in the English version.
Right. I'm not English.
That's something. Yeah.
That's true. I'm not English dub person either. I really just watch like the original and watch the subtitles because for me it's more respect to the Japanese culture in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, they're good. The English dub is good, but like I prefer the Japanese sub.
There are very few English dubs I will watch. Just because unless I've watched the show and I discovered it in English first.
Right.
And it's a matter of time for me, and it's a matter, even though they're down now to sub-dubs, I think like dubs that take place 4 weeks after it comes out in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait those 4 weeks. I'm just not in the mood to wait 28 days.
Exactly.
I want to watch it like the hour it comes out, which is what I did with My Hero today, because I like the show. So
exactly.
I just am not a patient person with that, and I'd rather talk about it now because I don't want to talk about it in 4 weeks.
Exactly, right? It's so much easier for me, like you said. And then let's get to the climax basically of the whole thing, where like it's towards the end where some random portals just opened up and Nomu's just popped out of nowhere, even though they destroyed like the main part. So I thought that was like kind of like a cheat, but you know, it's just whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a cop out. Like, you know, it's kind of very much where we have this situation where they could have been done in a lot of different ways.
Right.
And you know, it could have been that, you know, it just felt like a cop out where they got most of the league of the villains, and then you have a bunch of Nobus that come out of nowhere. Nobody transitioned them, and then, you know, pretty much, I mean, following that, I mean, all for one comes into the situation.
Right.
And so I don't really, like, it just seems so anticlimactic where, and even when the heroes came in and they just beat the League of Villains legitimately in 5 seconds, I mean,
right.
You know, there's the League of Villains. I mean, you know, you want to talk about credibility issues. I mean, this is kind of one of those credibility issues where, you know, you gotta really question, these are the main antagonists, these are the bad guys, they're supposed to be a little bit stronger than this.
Right, yeah.
So
I agree, because it's like, I mean, they just, I don't know, like it felt like when they did it, if you think about the other perspective of why they did the Nomu's attacking was, it kind of seemed a little too easy too, that they just ran in and just caught him like that. It's like, okay, well, that's a little too easy in my opinion if you think about it. If you, like, from the other perspective.
Yeah, you know, it just seems that in many ways that it cheapens the League of Villains, because these heroes have all gotten a lot more experience through several interactions with the League of Villains.
Right.
And in return, the League of Villains has also gotten more experience.
Right. They should know.
There's no way they haven't. And so, you know, to make it seem that these pro heroes just decimated the League of Villains, you know, I mean, it doesn't sit well with me, because it just seems like, okay, what now happens with the next after this arc? I mean, what happened
Right.
with the new league. Who's the next stage after, All for One, and how can we raise the bar, because now they just beat the bar, and then they're going to deal with the next bar. And
Right.
what increment are we going in here?
That's true.
And that's where I sit. This is why I'm not thrilled with this episode, because it just seems that it's moving the train along, and it's doing it more or less effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a terrible episode by any means, but it's also not a great episode. And I might be in the minority here, and I understand.
Right, yeah.
I've done plenty of reviews, since I was pretty much 19. I reviewed a lot of things, and I tend to be in the minority, and I get a lot of heat for it when I was doing them.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems to me that this show has been going on. I mean, we're on episode, I think, 47. If we were all collected, then I think that's the 9 of season 3. And it just more or less cheapens the League of Villains after building them up for a collective of 46 episodes. And then now we're gonna fight their leader and their backer.
Right, yeah, that does makes a lot of sense.
And what does that mean for their backer?
Right, yeah.
It's a reflection on their backer.
Mm-hmm. He can't make them strong enough to like defeat at least Endeavor.
Or put up a fight.
Yeah.
You don't need to beat them. There has to be equalness. So the concept is that I'm a big Overwatch player, and I love using analogies that are not My Hero Academia right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're playing competitive, you're in a fair match where the most the team can be that you're facing in competitive play is, I think, like 30 points above you.
Right.
At the most. And that's a fair fight, because that jump collectively isn't that high. And so this wasn't a fair fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it raises questions, and it seems like it's very much cheapening what they've built to be the counterparts of the heroes. And then moving forward, and even thinking several positions forward, and I don't know where My Hero Academia is going to end, but these are the villains, more or less, that the heroes in UA are going to face when they become heroes out, pro heroes.
Right,
and so how does that all play out as well? And there's just a lot of questions that just arise, and maybe I'm analyzing this too critically. I'll be the first to admit that. But logistically, there's some serious questions that have to be asked about what is the ramifications for everything that is about to go down and that occurred in this episode. So that's where I'm at.
That makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of things that it does make me question too. But okay, so moving away from that, so I saw there was a little thing, it was really quick, but they saw that Ragdoll, one of the Pussycat girls, she was what do you call it? She was unconscious, right? I have a feeling.
Search.
Yeah. I feel like she was gonna be a Nomu. I'm pretty sure, at least 90% sure she was gonna be a Nomu. But I thought that was interesting.
What is really interesting is that there was a bit of a hint saying that he took her quirk.
Yeah.
There was something about that thrown in there, and that is really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where that concept of what's going on, and his name is All for One.
Right.
And so those two things, and that just gives you a position of a lot of thoughts that are going on. Where it was explicitly clear that he's like, I basically took her quirk, and so that's, and then also, Bakugo also disappeared as well.
Yeah, he's gone.
And Almighty couldn't save him. And so I think those two things happened, and they are more or less happening in conjunction with one another. And so that sets up where we're going with that. And I thought that was a really nice touch of what they did with those two.
I agree.
Where they didn't make it clear with Bakugo, but they made it clear with one of the Pussycat girls, and her ability is search, which is why I'm assuming the Nobus appeared.
Right.
Because her ability should have prevented that, technically.
That's true.
From my understanding, the way I see it, is that's why they appeared and it wasn't exactly notified, because the ball dropped in her court.
Yeah.
With her ability being unconscious and possibly stolen.
That's true. That's very true. It is interesting concept about what they did. Like All Might, I feel like All Might's character and his character arc is really complex. Like kind of like Bakugo's, but Bakugo is understandable. But All Might, he's supposed to be the symbol of peace, but yet he's not always doing the main things that he's doing to ensure everything is peaceful for the most part. And I think
he really hasn't ensured much peace. I mean, in all seriousness, and to open up a can of worms, he has actually done 50% at best throughout everything that he's done. He's probably actually caused more turmoil and more issues than help to facilitate peace.
Right.
I see it.
It's kind of like, in my opinion, it's kind of like it's probably because of his past. Reminds me of Goku a little bit. How like Goku's past kind of affected everybody else, So people come back to haunt him, kind of like All Might in a way, and it's interesting, like the parallels of those two.
I mean, Almighty's power and Deku's power is one for all. And we're clearly dealing with the opposite and the entire opposite of the story, which is All for One. Is really the next villain that they're facing. And I don't think that's a secret of where that's going. So clearly, we're facing the exact opposite of Almighty and Deku as well. And so that's like what this episode really, I think, highlights nicely, is that we're now about to go to the opposite side. Yeah. And so that's something that I think is very much interesting with you bring up Goku and his past. And I think in many ways Goku in DBZ does go to the other side, where Goku is more or less the ultimate good. Yeah. And he's constantly going up against the ultimate bad. And Almighty stands on one side of the pillar, and we're now facing the other side of the pillar. And that's the way the fight is going. And that's really where we're going in this show.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. I mean, like, All for One and One for All, that's going to be a fight to see in anime form. And
they said something very interesting, where they said heroes and villains are just really the same coin on different sides.
Right, yeah, it's true. That's true in in all aspects of just like pretty much psychology and all that stuff. I mean, their mindset, like Stain. Take Stain. He's a good example for that, right? He wanted to, he had a reason behind it. Doesn't mean what he did was right, but he had a reasonable reason to do what he did, But, I mean, that's just Stain. And
this show has set up a very nice psychology for the third season at this point. And they've set up this entire concept, especially using the names. And there's a reason why all these names are used. There's a reason why, when you look at it, you have almost the two teachers, and the two, I guess, senior figures, which is Almighty, and All for One going up against each other. And then you got their two youngers, which is the name of Almighty's student, slash younger is skipping me right now. But
Oh,
then you got
Deku?
Deku. Yes.
Yeah. Deku and Shigaraki.
Yeah. So you got those two, and then that's really what we're kind of where we're heading with this. And I think that this episode sets that up.
Mm-hmm. I want to see them fight
really nicely.
Right. Like to see like Deku and Shigaraki actually like fight it out would be interesting, but at the same time I feel like Shigaraki's I mean he's not strong. He doesn't have Deku's power, but Deku can't let him touch him at the same time because he'll just, die. So I think that's, that'd be a good fight to see if they do that.
I mean it'll probably eventually happen at some point in My Hero Academia. I don't know when. It just seems that it's building that way.
Yeah.
Where I highly doubt the show is not going. The show is Almighty. Despite Almighty being a main character, he's not the show's focus.
Right.
The show's focus is Deku. There's no denying that.
Exactly.
And so while Deku didn't play a major role, and really nobody really, if we look at who was the main, we got Shigaraki, Bakugou.
Yeah.
Really played the main roles in this episode,
mm-hmm.
which I like, because I like when a show deviates away from their main character and their focus, which I think is a nice touch.
Right. It helps develop other characters besides the main one.
And they've been doing that a lot in this season alone,
mm-hmm.
which I think so far, because a lot of characters have had opportunities. And I think that that's a nice touch, and it just makes us, when we go back to Deku, that much more liking the character, because we've had a bit of a break from him.
Right. I have a one thing I really want to see from this show, from what manga readers are telling me. They're not spoiling it, but they're saying that Kirishima, the guy with the red hair, spiky red hair, you can I want to see his backstory, because I like him as a side character. He's really good. They really did him right, in my opinion. And I just want to see him, what happened to him as a kid and how he got there and to where he is now. Kind of like what they did with Ida. But this is, I don't know if they'll do it, but I hope they do it. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, I'm not that far in the manga.
Right.
So I have a brief idea of where the show is going.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just have tidbits of information, but I don't really know what's going to happen next. I much prefer the anime, and I'm going to eventually, one of the goals that I want to do in the next year is that I'm very much into buying manga, and I like to review single volumes of manga on my website. And so one of the things that's actually sitting in my apartment, because I'm on vacation right now, chilling out, taking a break from the entire grind,
right.
One of the things that I want to do is I want to go through My Hero Academia's manga, piece by piece by piece by piece.
That's a good one.
I think it's really crucial and I want to critically analyze.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think in the long run, when the show is finished, there's going to be a lot of analytical components that can be done with it.
Right.
Whether it's done at a con or on YouTube, because I don't think it is being critically analyzed at the moment.
Mm.
As we dealt with on this podcast and this conversation,
mm-hmm.
we probably touched very, very little just in this episode alone.
It's just
on some of the aspects that can be analyzed. And there's a little more of what I've witnessed just from all the way up to this episode. And I'm sure when I watch it again, there will be a lot more things to cover.
Mm-hmm, I agree. We only hit the tip of the iceberg for really what this show can give us psychologically, and I would really, actually, that might be another segment that I want to make on this podcast, the psychology of, anime and stuff like that. But next episode looks pretty sad. That's just the least I can say. It looks pretty solemn. Doesn't look pretty good, for the good guys at least, but
well, the good guys can rise again.
Right, yeah, that's true. That's very true.
That's just story 101 right there.
Mm-hmm.
In every anime it does that. I mean, in every comic book they do that.
Right.
And My Hero Academia, really, I mean, the entire thing is a comic book, just in an anime form. I mean, a good chunk of the way it's done is comic book-like, and you got heroes versus super bad guys. I mean, you cannot get any more comic book-like than My Hero Academia on the anime scene right now.
I agree. I think that's why they're so good too, because they take it in that route, unlike most Japanese shows, you know.
There's a reason why it's successful, because it's something fresh. The last thing that was something like this in Japan was Tiger and Bunny. It is the closest thing that is like My Hero Academia in Japan and coming out of Japan.
Mm.
And Tiger and Bunny was extremely successful for what it was.
Right.
But My Hero Academia blows it away.
Mm-hmm.
Because they take that concept and they actually made it more. I mean, I don't think anybody realizes that people don't have quirks, but looking beyond that, there is a lot of human traits in there. There's a lot of components in there that make it more believable that this could technically exist.
Right.
I mean, you can understand how this would exist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Tiger and Bunny, there's a disconnect.
Right. I agree. This show is just 100% like it's basically the top show here in America, and probably there in Japan too. But like,
it's a top show when it's seasonally on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Because anime is complicated now.
Mm-hmm.
Where it used to be 8 years ago, it used to be that top show would come out once every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or it would come out once. There'd be like 3 top shows in the year.
Right.
It didn't matter when it came out. Now seasonal anime is in effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so My Hero Academia typically runs for about 2 seasons, and it's usually at the top for half the year.
Right.
And then something else takes it over. Or when My Hero Academia, I don't know if it was competing with Attack on Titan, and there's a few others that it goes up against. And when it's in the top 3 usually when it's on.
Yeah.
But depending on the year, I mean, Attack on Titan definitely provided competition. But I don't know if it was competing against Attack on Titan. I think it was. I think the second season was. And that was definitely a fight with that show, because those are the 2 massively popular,
right.
You know,
and it's
shows.
Like,
and so,
right, it's like one of those I think when they released the first season was pretty smart in my opinion, because it was basically when Super was ending, basically. So it was like it gave them room to be more popular while Super is, you know, not on. They're pretty much taking the top spot, and I feel like that's really.
They were also extremely smart to do a 12-episode test.
Yeah.
So the way anime works is that, and other anime do this all the time too, is that Food Wars did this. And Food Wars was really, really smart. The way they did this, and they did it for 2 reasons. So they did 24 episodes because they had enough material to do 24 episodes. But then they decided to do a 12-episode test for the second season. And then because A, they didn't have enough material, but more importantly, they didn't know how people were going to react. And they didn't know if there was still a market for it. And it's cheaper to produce 12 episodes than it is to produce 24. Because once you get to 24, you break even at about 21 episodes monetary-wise on commercials. Mm-hmm. And then you still make money on those episodes, but you're not making enough. And then following that, for the next 3 or 4 episodes, depending on what your budget was, you make a lot of money on it. And so and then after they did their 12 episodes, doing 12 episodes, you break even a lot sooner. You need less of a budget. And then the third season, they did 24. And so with My Hero Academia, they did 12 and they banged it out. And it was massively popular. Then they've done 24. And then I don't know what they're doing for season 3, but they're probably going to do another 24 because it's just, there's a market for it and it's super popular. and they've proven their concept.
Right.
And that's something that they did really, really smart with My Hero Academia, because if it was just 12 episodes and a flop, there wasn't that risk of monetary loss as bad.
Right.
From a studio perspective.
Exactly. That's very true. And yeah, that's, man, we could go on forever about this, but like, we're almost at like,
I know my stuff. I know a lot of anime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the business side of it. I understand the psychology side of it. And I haven't analyzed My Hero Academia. Like, I haven't psychoanalysis yet of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I may or may not do that, depending on what type of panel I like to run and what I want to write about. But there is definitely a component to what's going on. I think we covered a bunch of it in this episode.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We need to do these more, because I really need content for my podcast, because I'm just starting out, right? So it's not the best. I don't know. Doing it by myself is not easy. But
I know all about that. I know all about that.
All right, man. We're gonna close this podcast off. It was really great talking to you. Like, it really was. And like.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it. I mean, I know a lot about this stuff. I've been doing it for a while. I've been watching since I've been 7, and
goodness.
I watch a lot of anime.
Mm-hmm.
And I write about this stuff. I run a podcast on this. I do panels. I've done 32 panels at this point at AnimeCon. Mm-hmm. I have another 2 scheduled, and then I'm hoping to finish the year out with another 10.
Okay.
So that would make my total of this year about 18 panels.
Goodness, that's awesome, man. That's goals.
And I do it all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal every year is to do about 3 new panels.
That's
plus
good.
All my old stuff.
That's dope. That really is dope, and I really appreciate you taking your time to talk to me. We're gonna go ahead and end this podcast here. Thank you guys for listening for so long. If you're still here, don't forget there's a lot of links down in the description and stuff like that, affiliate links, all that good stuff, right? And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. And you want to say bye to them?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Go watch some My Hero Academia. Go watch a bunch of other stuff. All my stuff is Pop Anime Comics. You can check it out, and definitely subscribe to my podcast. I have one, and to other podcasts in the anime community, because they need you, and the people on YouTube don't.
Right. Yeah, go check it out. Pop Anime Comics. See you guys. Have a good night, and see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.